Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Victoria 2 as Sardinia-Piedmont. In the last episode we initiated our war against Oman in order to take Zanzibar, and I didn't initially call in France, but then later on I did because we actually have an army from Oman sieging us down here, and I basically called in France for convenience so that they could take care of this instead of my having to bring all of my ships back from all the way around here and transport troops over. But it may have been something of a mistake because France has added their own war goal to take some land down in Africa, which is not ideal, but I suppose it's a relatively small price to pay in the whole scheme of things. Okay, tensions rise in the Ottoman Aegean Islands. Well, that's old news really, but that's okay. That crisis, of course, ended in white peace. So France does have some boats on the move. Hopefully they are actually going to do what it was I called them into this war to do. Alright, we have everything occupied, including Zanzibar. We do. Annals of South Italian History. Okay, so a historian of some renown has published a book on South Italian history, which is somewhat inflammatory, I guess. So we can have craftsmen and clerks in Sardinia gain consciousness, or aristocrats and capitalists. I think we'll allow the aristocrats and capitalists to gain consciousness because there's probably almost none of them. Alright, so France pieced us out. We got what we wanted, even though it's hard to tell because it's still the exact same color. And they did indeed take Mogadishu, which is fine, I suppose. Meanwhile, we'll just bring our troops back home. So we are down to 18th place, which is not great, but we're going to get back up there pretty soon, I think. I was hoping we would gain a rank or two from that war, but it didn't turn out that way, unfortunately. We have a flu pandemic, so we can spend £1,000 to mitigate the effect somewhat, which I think we will do. And we do have quite a few unemployed craftsmen. That factory never actually started building, so we can invest further in that. There we go. That should help out. It's going to take 2 years to actually get built, though. And I think after we finish with idealism, we might go for some of the prestige techs here. Though we do have a penalty to culture tech research from our administration being military-industrial complex. I don't think we can do anything about that just yet. And we'll keep doing trade unions, I suppose. And now we have reactionaries as well. And the crisis was averted. You are very much behind the times, newspaper. The end of the revolution. Broken, busted, and thrown to the sides lie the barricades, and the tricolours have stopped waving from the windowsills. The events that will be recorded by history as the Piedmontian liberal revolution of 1843 are all in the past, and it seems that we have managed to weather the storm. Okay, so Liberals lose militancy. Liberals lose consciousness, and we gain 15 prestige. Excellent. So that bumped us right up to 12th place immediately, which is pretty significant. Only a few nations in between us and great power status now, which goes to show how much just a little bit of prestige is worth this early in the game. Okay, fruit, grain, and tea production. We certainly have fruit and grain, so that helps us out. I think now that we're a secondary power, we should be able to colonize this province that I mentioned in the last episode for 80 colonial power, which we can just about afford. I don't believe there's anywhere else that we can target just yet. We can reduce our spending somewhat since we're not actually fighting anyone. We should actually increase our military spending though, so that we can probably be able to build more brigades. Squalid slum. The reeking putrid stench welling out of the old house smells like mould and rotting timber. There isn't a soul about save an old drunkard who scurries out through a back door at the first hint of light shining through a soot-covered window. God alone knows for how long this house has been standing here, but its dilapidated state paints a clear picture of what our nation has become in the past few decades. Poverty is becoming ever more widespread, and housing like this is standard for far too many of our nation's poor and downtrodden. Infinitely worse, these unsanitary hovels are an ample breeding ground for filth and disease. Alright. So we can gain liberal in the upper house and have old pops gain consciousness. We can have old pops become more in favour of trinket healthcare and gain a little consciousness. Or have old pops gain militancy. I think we'll have old pops come more in favour of trinket healthcare. That's fine. Okay, bonus to research points, and our glass factory, or rather our winery, is almost full. So I think we'll expand this, even though we still have room in the glass factory there. No problems getting our materials, and I guess we're a bit behind the times going for romanticism. All of those shared prestige inventions have already been invented, but if we went to realism immediately, we might have a chance of getting some prestige from that. On the other hand, we could help out our industry. I think we'll do experimental railroad first. Alright, there is a little prestige. And I think we'll start doing press rights now. Chimney sweepers. The hard work that the city's young chimney sweepers perform has outraged many, and a committee has been formed to tackle the rough working conditions. So we can have people be more in favour of a 14-hour workday, or poor strata gain militancy. We'll let them be in favour of a shorter workday. That seems okay. So it seems that Ethiopia and Egypt's war ended badly for Ethiopia. And they've lost some land there. Which I mentioned because we could target Ethiopia for our next conquest. Or Egypt, for that matter. We could actually take some land, I suppose, up here. We don't want to take any of the Ottoman cores. That's just asking for trouble. Alternatively, we could maybe take Johor, which would be good for our income, certainly, since they have a lot of gold or precious metals, unless, of course, they are sphered by the UK or anything so far, which they're not. I guess the question is whether we have enough land down here in Africa to act as a good starting place for colonization yet. I think we probably do. Ethiopia, of course, has good populations, so that would help us out for our military development. Same with Egypt, I suppose. If we took Sinai, for example, well, they don't have good pops there. This region is reasonably good, though. And Sinai is pretty good, actually, up here. Well, we're not in a huge rush to do another conquest just yet. Exotic fauna. New species of exotic fauna are being discovered in the colonies, and a suggestion has been proposed to establish a colonial museum of natural history. So we can do that and get extra research points, or have pups in Tunisia lose militancy. I would like the research points, please. And we're up to rank 11, which is pretty good. An old, tired soldier. When life expectancies in Sardinia-Piedmont are decidedly on the increase, the unfortunate interaction between a relatively low wage and equally low pensions means that very few people can afford to make preparations for an old age where they are no longer capable of working. The educated middle classes would prefer to see a raise in the minimum wage, while the aristocracy argues in favour of raising pensions. So we can enact acceptable pensions. We can skip a couple of reforms there even. And have middle strata that support liberal gain consciousness, or we can enact acceptable minimum wage, which would also be a few reforms down. Have rich strata that can support conservative gain consciousness, or have pups gain militancy and consciousness. Well, I don't really value either of those reforms too much. The real bonus of those is the immigrant attraction, but we're not going to get much in the way of immigrants anyway. And otherwise it's just going to cost us money. So I think we'll just gain the militancy and consciousness. If we got some free healthcare, or even better school system reforms, I would be much more in favor of that. So we have a crisis in Thessalia. The USA expands. Probably taking some land from Mexico, as they like to do. So Belgium is backing the Ottomans. A pretty weak backer there. Versus Russia. UK wants to back Belgium. France wants to back Russia. Okay, so this one could be interesting. So our sphere leader France is in on Russia's side. Russia offered to cut Belgium down to size for them. And Austria is increasing relations with us. So this one could very well go to war. Though if Prussia does indeed go in on Belgium's side, maybe not. We have a colonial incident. colonial regiment in one of our colonies has had an encounter with a regiment from another colonial power. Well, we can gain place in the Sun Sea beyond the Netherlands, which would be interesting. Or all pops become more in favour of jingoism and gain 0.5 militancy, which actually would be fine too. What are our chances of fighting the Netherlands? They're 25 brigades, so they are stronger than us, though not by that much. I don't think they really have any colonies that we're extremely interested in taking. I think we'll just gain the jingoism, which is in itself pretty good. And we can complete our colony over here in Bornu. And we are up to 10th place overall. And France has allied 2 Sicilies. I guess that means they have been sphered. I guess that's fine. We can probably get an alliance with them ourselves, or perhaps even not. Okay, that's fine too. Let's see then. I think we'll go for market structure next. Mining and farming output will be pretty good. Still no more brigades available to build. Okay, Austria has gone in on Belgium's side. Prussia is possibly going to as well. If they don't take a side, then this could very well go to war. We could very well get called in. And we do have another reform available. We'll just go to free press. Okay, so the crisis is over. The Russian Empire has been humiliated. And no war. They've gone way down in the rankings. Even below Belgium. Okay, the crisis was averted. And our luxury furniture factory should get done sometime pretty soon. The winery is doing pretty well, so that's nice. We are getting the full bonus from having both fruit produced in state and a glass factory, which is good. Okay. Don't think our Jacobin rebels are going to cause us too many more problems, hopefully. So I think we probably should go to war then, and I think we'll go for Johor. The problem with going for Johor is that as soon as the UK decides that they want it, then they can just take it from us, but we can hold on to it for them in the meantime and probably gain a pretty good amount of income from it. Problem is we could end up gaining quite a large amount of infamy, but hopefully not that much. The girl from Annecy, another young girl, has lost her life in a coal mining accident in one of our provinces, and the particular tragedy of the case has received national attention. How unfortunate. Okay. So, in preparation for our war, I don't think we're going to need too many troops. Johor themselves probably have very little in the way of an army. 3 brigades, and their ally has 5. So I think we'll just bring over 6 brigades of our own will probably be just fine. We will park them over here in Zanzibar. So, not going to be too much longer. Hopefully we will not gain too much infamy. We haven't been discovered yet. Probably should have had our troops on the move even earlier, because we are going to finish this justification before they even get around the southern tip of Africa, it looks like. So we were discovered for 2.3 infamy, which seems like a totally fair deal to me. And we get slower CB generation. Beer hole opening. So we don't really want the reduced mining and farming efficiency, so we will just gain a little militancy, I think, instead. And we have our CB. Still going to send my troops up here to Zanzibar to stop in first and get rid of the time at sea penalty, but then we will head over and declare our war. But it is going to have to wait for the next episode because we're out of time here, so thanks for watching, and join me again then.